Hi, and welcome to the Apocalypse Chronicles. Just a heads up, if you're really into political correctness, you're probably in the wrong place. Go sign a petition or something. Hopefully we're slowly coming out of the woods on COVID-19. The whole thing has been awful, but on the bright side, since most of the world's governments have been busy battling the virus, none of them have had time to start any wars. Now things will return to normal and they will be able to start bombing civilians again. Now that may sound a little bit harsh, but it's just the age we live in, like all the other ages in the history of humankind. The Dark Ages, the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Age of Chivalry. Well, that one went out the window with Harvey Weinstein. Today we are living in the age of total bullshit, which officially began when Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. A lot of the people who elected this guy are the same people who belong to all these doomsday organizations and cults that are always trying to warn us about the coming apocalypse, but they don't know how to spell apocalypse, so the word doesn't get out. Well, we do know how to spell apocalypse, and we are trying to get the word out. Not for people today, because it's too late anyway, and nobody's paying attention. But we do want to have something on record for future generations, assuming there will be any. And it is high time that we all started to think about what kind of world we're going to leave for Keith Richards. At least this way, when the survivors crawl out into nuclear winter from whatever bunker or decommissioned coal mine they happen to have been in when everything went to rat shit, they'll be comforted to find an old jump drive with this on it. It'll take them centuries before they can figure out how to use it again. But when they do, they'll have the answer to a question that they and all the generations between theirs and ours will have been asking about us. What the hell were we thinking? Or maybe not, but at least there will be proof that for one brief shining moment, a bunch of us got together in a little dark room somewhere and actually did think about this stuff before we got back to the really important things in life, like who was going to win the Academy Awards or the Olympics. Now, even I have to admit that we can't blame Donald Trump for everything, but he was the guy who kicked everything off. Like everybody else in the world, I've always wondered how this guy ever became president of the United States of America. So, back in 2017, Bruce and Andrew and I went out and we found the guy who helped put him there. I am Sergei Adranovich Sokolnikov, but you can call me Crazy Bear. All my friends do, except I have no friends. I liquidate last one, 11 p.m. Moscow time. I used to do a lot of things here, Mother Russia. I play hockey, Moscow Spartak, right wing, 8 seasons. Score some goals. 9,000 minutes, penalties. Then one night we play in Minsk Dynamo. I go into corner with this guy. We do not like each other very much. Sticks come up and what is word I'm looking for, kill. I kill him and I get banned KHL hockey for life. Major bummer. But I still young man, still need something to do. So I decide to go into computers. I do not know shit from Shinola about computers, but back then, Moscow, you could buy computer people next to nothing, especially if you scare shit out of them. So, I buy computer people. Pretty soon, other people start to look me up. They have ideas, they have money, I have time. We do all kinds of shit. We hack into Swiss banks, we steal identities. We even do those Nigerian prince emails. You know, hello, my dear friend, I am from Nigerian royal family. I have 90 million US dollars I cannot take out of country. It's too much to fit into suitcase. But if you send me your bank account number and your password, I will transfer this money to you, and I will pay you $1 million when I get there. It's low percentage stuff, but if you send out 20 million emails, you would be surprised how many morons you find. Speaking of morons, one day, Americans from Republican Party come to town. Republican Party is also called GOP, GOP. Sound like Moscow department store. They got this guy Trump, big orange face, big stupid hair, big stupid plane, and they want to make him president. But they are worried about elections. The trouble with elections is that you may not win. In Mother Russia, we never worry about elections because we never lose. Our elections look real, but they aren't. I tell them they are like reality TV show. It's a funny thing. As soon as I say reality TV show, they understand right away what I am talking about. People are the same the world over. If you tell them big lie long enough, sooner or later they will believe it is true. If it works in Russia, it will work in America. Something called primaries are starting, and they need money for campaign. I guess in USA, democracy is expensive. This guy Trump, he brag, he pay for everything, but it's all bullshit. He can't. One guy, he from Texas or someplace, he say Trump got big hat, no cattle. Whatever the fuck that means. So what the hell? We show them around Moscow, we introduce them to lots of girls, all named Natasha, don't ask me why, and we drink vodka. These guys, they are all respectable married guys from places like East Bovine Fuck, Wyoming. And they never see nothing like Moscow Saturday night. They never see nothing like our girls all named Natasha either. But it's free country. They take girls named Natasha back to hotels. They do things you don't want to know, and they don't want their wives to know. And we take pictures. Lots of pictures. Then we give them money for campaign, because it's always good to have useful idiot in high place. If you have lots of useful idiots in high place, it's even better. Then we put them on plane at Sheremetyevo and they go home to America. We wave bye-bye and we wait, because now we've got them. Time goes by, we do other things, and then we find out these crazy bastards, they pull it off. They get this guy Trump elected, who is even crazier than they are. I call girls named Natasha, we have big party, we celebrate. I start out as poor boy in Chelyabinsk. I never dreamed that one day I would own big white house in America. So I call my friend from East Bovine Fuck and his friends, and I say hi. How is it going? How are the kids? How is the wife? And then I tell him about pictures. They get really mad. They say they're going to sue us. I can't help it, I laugh. In Mother Russia, if you get really mad at someone, you do not sue them. You take Kalashnikov and you shoot them in the face. These guys, they do not understand. You do not take lawyer to gunfight. So now, Tovarich, we will see what happens. I have feeling Trump and Господин Vladimir Putin, they are not going to get along. Trump act like big tough guy, but he got nothing. Spoiled rich boy. Go private schools, dodge draft 5 times, start out with nothing except $10 million he got from his papa. He get bad sunburn on golf course. He gonna go running home to Melania, except she not there much anymore. That is whole other story. I will tell you sometime, if I let you live. Now, Vladimir, he is, how do you say, a different breed of cat. He survived 16 years, major spook, KGB. Never kill no one he didn't need to. Retire KGB, lieutenant colonel, decide to go into Russian politics, most dangerous game in the world. He go to Kremlin, go to work for Boris Yeltsin. 3 years later, Boris Yeltsin retires. Vladimir becomes president, big surprise. Trump and Vladimir, they get into a big fight and close the room. Who do you think wins? I tell you who wins. Nobody. One day, big bad Vladimir is going to hurt little Donnie's feelings. Little Donnie will get really mad. Big orange face will get even bigger and more orange. He will get on big stupid plane, go back to White House, try to remember where he put launch codes, probably next to Twitter password. Then he will push big red button with his tiny little fingers. 6, 7 minutes later, Vladimir is sitting in Kremlin, minding his own business. He gets phone call. Incoming missile tracks over Murmansk. Vladimir pushed his big red button. He got bigger red button than Trump. Then, das Vidania. We are all fucked. So, maybe taking all those pictures, not such good idea. There is only one thing I can do now. I will call Moose and Squirrel. Maybe they can get us out of this. Wish me luck. We are all going to need it. Our priorities got fucked up a long time ago. We've become obsessed with celebrities in sports and entertainment. There's something in human nature that makes us admire people who are way more successful than we are. We care about people who don't know who we are, don't care who we are, wouldn't cross the street to help us if we were hit by a truck. You watch these press conferences sometime on ESPN, and some millionaire wide receiver whose team has just lost 2 or 3 games in a row is talking about how he and his millionaire teammates are battling through adversity. I mean, give me a break. Why the hell should we be cheering for them? They should be cheering for us. There was a time when parents wanted their kids to become doctors or lawyers or engineers or teachers. Now a parent sees their kid inside doing their homework and it's like, put down that damn book and go outside and practice your jump shot. I mean, who the hell can blame them? That's where the real money is. You hear about pro athletes now making $25 million a year. The paramedic or the firefighter or the nurse or the doctor who saves your frigging life and then goes out the next day and saves somebody else's frigging life. Well, they may make a decent living, but it still wouldn't be enough in a year to cover the maintenance costs on Rory McIlroy's Gulfstream. Not that Rory McIlroy isn't a great guy and a nifty dresser and a credit to Northern Ireland, but he was raised virtually from birth to hit a little white ball with a stick. Anyway, times have changed. Anybody remember airports? Been a long time, right? It was a long time ago, the last time I was in the Toronto airport, and it was pre-COVID, and it was pretty crowded. There were a lot of people trying to get out to Vancouver in time for the Fall Taser Festival. And if you spent enough time in airports back then, it was easy to see why the authorities were always so worried about security. I mean, thousands of people used to go through airports every day. They could have been anybody. They could have been members of some really dangerous terrorist organization like ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Boko Haram. They might even have been Republicans. The way you get treated in airports and by the airlines, if you're not already a terrorist when you go in there, by the time you get out, you will be thinking very seriously about becoming one. That's why the terrorists do this shit in the first place, force society into a place where it restricts individual rights and freedoms, spends billions of dollars on security equipment so they can track your every move even when you haven't done anything wrong, just in the expectation that someday you might. Hell, the terrorists won the war on terror a long time ago. Now, I live in a fairly small city, and if I want to go anywhere, I usually have to start out in one of these little twin-engine prop commuter planes. You know the kind I mean, if you want a pilot, it'll cost extra and everybody has to chip in for the gas. Either that or they leave the keys under the mat and you're on your own. Even with these little planes, they still have all the gimmicks airlines use to get a little bit more money out of you. I mean, I don't know if they still do this, but the last time I was there, I heard this announcement: all Air Canada super elite class passengers can now board the aircraft. You have to wonder what was going through these people's minds. I mean, hey, I was just a garden variety, run-of-the-mill elitist before. Now I'm super elite. I must be a real asshole. So, super elite class passengers get to board first, the rest of us get to straggle on afterward. I always tried to clip at least one of them in the side of the head with my carry-on luggage on the way by. What's the point? Super elite class passengers get to sit in the front of the plane. They get a $5 blue shower curtain to keep them away from the riffraff. They're in the front, so if the plane does go down, they get to slam into the side of an old hockey rink a split second before everybody else does. It is understandable that the airline industry is so worried about terrorism, but the real truth is that if you're driving somewhere in the United States, you've got a much better chance of being blown away during a routine traffic stop than you ever do of getting killed by a terrorist. They've got absolutely no sense of humor down there. You know why I stopped you? I don't know, you think I got donuts in here? Bang. No sense of ha-ha. Guns and shooting people have become like a national sport, especially mass shootings. I mean, everybody is always understandably horrified when they happen, and the media are always getting excited and asking why. Hell, I'll tell you why. Take a look at the plot of maybe 80% of the action movies that have ever been made. One man, a maverick, a loner, alone against a system that doesn't understand him. He's got a gun, and it's time for some payback. Things did not get this fucked up by accident. But what the hell? Let's be really optimistic for a moment. At least now we can be. For the last 4 years, about the only way you could be really optimistic was that if you were drinking heavily or doing really good drugs, preferably both. Now we've gotten through the election and things are starting to look up a little. We've got an actual grown-up real person in the White House, but for a while it was a real close-run thing. A mob of hardcore Trump supporters tried to storm the Capitol building. The warning signs had been all over social media and the internet. Everybody knew it was coming, everybody except the agencies who were assigned to prevent it. So by the time the rioters did show up, the only people left to stop them were 5 cops and a police dog. Now, to be fair, the insurrectionists, as they're called, were not exactly rocket scientists either, but at least they were public spirited about it. They made sure to take a lot of social media video of themselves, post it on various platforms, so it would make it a lot more convenient for the FBI to track them down afterward. Now, to be fair to the security people, they did have their act together by the time the inauguration rolled around. But even then, a small, dedicated cadre of insurrectionists did manage to sneak into the inauguration. They were hiding under Lady Gaga's dress. But let's say that somehow we've survived the Trump era, that we've got a shot, no pun intended, at getting through COVID-19 and global terrorism. Does that mean we're going to be okay? Is there any other shit we got to worry about? Well, aside from a nuclear war, which is always a leading contender, and another worldwide epidemic that we probably won't see coming this time either, probably the biggest threat is climate change. All kinds of reports have been out on it for decades, but most of us haven't read them, never will read them, because we're too busy watching reality TV. Hey, I got your reality TV right here. Here's the problem. The problem is human nature. Climate change is complicated. Human beings do not like complicated. We like quick solutions and simple answers, but in this case, there just aren't any. The solution to this shit is not going to be quick, and it sure as hell is not going to be simple. It's going to take a long, sustained effort. It can't be solved by shooting somebody, although I can assure you that many times during this process, guns and shooting people will be involved. Let me put it in a way that we can all understand. Climate change can't be solved in a TV half hour or an hour, not even in an epic miniseries. If we think we can just skate around this until the year 2030 and then Bruce Willis or somebody will come in and fix things, save our butts in the last 2 minutes, we're so far beyond wrong, it'll take the light from wrong. 1,000 years to reach us. It's not like we haven't been warned, and this guy coming up, he was one of the first to blow the whistle.
Global warming, pollution, the damage to the Earth's ozone layer, all of these environmental anomalies are beginning to have a strange effect on animals and plants. A recent example is the aggressive behavior of black bears in Quebec and Ontario. And now, another phenomenon, perhaps the most puzzling of all. Environmental experts are alarmed at the sudden and unexpected hay bale migration weeks ahead of schedule. Doug Sutherland isn't an environmental scientist, but he plays one on TV. Mr. Sutherland, what's happening here?
Well, Kelly, we're not sure. Normally these bales wouldn't have started to move until several days from now, when they start their migration north.
How can you tell they're moving?
Well, Kelly, if you stare at them long enough, you can see it. Every year, they head north to spawn.
What, you mean like salmon?
Exactly. It's a long, arduous journey. They have to face a lot of hazards, a lot of obstacles.
What kind of obstacles?
Bears, highway dividers.
I see. Now, why are scientists so alarmed about this year's migration?
Well, it's early. As I said, normally they wouldn't have started to move until later on, but we don't know if it's the warm weather or what, but, well, I don't want to create widespread panic, but...
But what?
I don't know. I'm going to have to follow the migration. I just hope that I don't spook the herd.
And how are you going to do that?
Well, Kelly, I've been doing this for a long time. If I become one with the bales, just try to blend in. After a few days, I should gain their confidence, and they'll begin to accept me.
What happens if you're not able to do that?
Well, then it becomes the worst possible situation you could ever imagine.
You mean?
That's right. Stampede.
So you're in a very dangerous line of work.
Danger is my business, Kelly. And don't forget, I work for the government. I'm expendable.
Kelly McGuire Curry for Arcturus Entertainment News.
One of the things you have to watch out for is when you're trying to track these things and you're trying to blend in with them. Sometimes if they get spooked and you're standing in the wrong place, you know, it's dangerous. You have to be careful about it. And I have to tell this to the young bucks when they start doing what I do. You get too close to these, they'll turn on you. It's happened a couple of times, and I can tell you, it sure as hell wasn't pretty. So that's something, never stand in front of a moving hay bale. Number one. Now, if we look over here, there are a lot of people who think that if we keep on destroying the climate here on Earth, about the only option left will be to just get the hell out of Dodge, get on one of those Elon Musk shuttle rockets and go live on another planet. Of course, a lot of these people are on another planet already, but they're already thinking about adapting Venus so that someday humans can live on it. I'm not making this up. The planet Venus is supposed to be the prime candidate for that. It's called Earth's sister planet for a reason. It's the closest planet to Earth, and just like Earth, it orbits the sun within something called, wait for it, the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for human habitation. Now, even though the two planets are alike, going from Earth to Venus is still a pretty big deal. It's not like you're moving to Omaha, Nebraska, although the culture shock would be about the same. And not even Elon Musk has enough money to finance it on his own. There are a lot of similarities between the two planets. I mean, they're about the same size, they're about the same mass, they even have about the same surface gravity. That's right, the surface gravity on Venus is 91% of the surface gravity on Earth. That means if you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you're only going to weigh 91 pounds on Venus. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Elon Musk now has some sponsors. As soon as Oprah Winfrey and Marie Osmond heard about the 91% surface gravity thing, they signed up. So the first Elon Musk shuttle mission to Venus will have a Weight Watchers logo on it. Now, there are still a few minor details, differences between the two planets that may make Venus a little bit sketchy to live on. I mean, for starters, the Venusian atmosphere is over 90 times more dense than the atmosphere on Earth. The surface temperature is 864 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt lead, just in case you need to melt lead sometime. And the Venusian atmosphere is made up almost entirely of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. But there are a lot of scientists, since obviously we've done a great job already with Earth's climate, who think we can change all that. Ecologically re-engineer the entire planet, terraform Venus, so that someday it becomes fit for human habitation. Now, I know that sounds a little bit far-fetched, but think about it. We've got a track record at this stuff. It's not like we haven't done it before, because we've already done it once. For decades now, we've been fucking up Earth's climate so that it's beginning to look an awful lot like the one Venus has right now. You have to keep in mind that at least some of the people involved in this shit have extensive postgraduate training in meteorology and climate science, otherwise known as predicting the weather, and we already know how well they've done with that. We watch weather reports every day. They've just become part of the woodwork. We used to have a storm of the century once a century. Now we have a storm of the century every couple of weeks. With all these disasters going on, it took me a long time to understand why the TV weather people are so cheerful all the time. I finally figured it out. Doing the weather has to be the best job in the world. It's the only job in the world where you know you're going to screw up. Everybody else knows you're going to screw up, and nobody cares. We got a 60% chance of snow, 20% chance of rain, 10% chance of sun, 10% chance of a tsunami, 100% chance, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Let's face it, they've got a 40% chance of being right 60% of the time. How would you like to have that margin of error in your job? This is your captain speaking. We've got a 50% chance of reaching Chicago alive. Now, NASA does not want to be outdone by Elon Musk, so it's announced that it's begun planning the first manned mission to Mars. The planning process will take years, so the actual launch itself won't take place until the year 2037. That's 16 years from now, for those of you who graduated with an arts degree. Now, NASA itself has gotten kind of fed up with all the hype around Elon Musk and SpaceX and the private space companies, so they decided to do something very uncharacteristic. They're actually going to promote this thing and have a big celebration. They were originally planning on having this huge outdoor rock concert on the beach at Cape Canaveral the night before the launch in 2037, but unfortunately the whole thing fell through because they found out that the Rolling Stones are already booked. Anyway, I've gotten kind of tired of all the hype around social media and the internet, and I've gone retro. I've gone back to reading newspapers. They have like facts. And you can find out a lot of really interesting things if you read the newspaper. I mean, I was reading the paper the other day, and they found out that our Russian Army Division has actually established a military base up in the high Arctic on Canadian soil. They're not too sure when they got there, but they think it was sometime in the late spring of 2019. They came in under cover of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, no question that facts, or the lack of them, have become a big issue. A lot of people will believe just about anything they see on television or the internet. And you've got to remember that just because Donald Trump is gone, there are still 70 million people in the US who voted for him, and they haven't gone anywhere. They still think the same things about race and immigration and politics, and there's a big elephant in the room. The United States is actually two different countries. Think back to those wonderful evenings we all just spent watching the election night coverage on CNN with John King and his magic wall, you know, the one with the hokey map showing all the red states for Trump and all the blue states for Biden. All the blue states for Biden were up and down the Atlantic and Pacific coasts and concentrated in the major cities, and all the red states for Trump were in the heartland and in the deep south. Now, John King is smarter than hell, and he can reel off the vote counts for East Buffalo, Wyoming, going back to 1938. If you're watching election night coverage on CNN, John King is the show. Now, every now and then, Wolf Blitzer, what kind of name is Wolf Blitzer anyway? I mean, he's a frigging news anchor, and his name sounds like he should be commanding a Panzer division. Anyway, every few minutes, Wolf would get kind of steamed because John King was getting all the airtime, so he'd walk over and interrupt King and try asking him some intelligent questions. And after a few minutes, it became clear that that wasn't working out very well. So then Wolf would just let John King talk for a while, and then he'd interrupt him again and repeat everything that John King had just said. Now, even with the pandemic going on, the US election was still mostly about race and immigration and politics. One of the scary things they found out in the exit polls was that only about 5% of people who identified as Republicans thought the COVID-19 pandemic was really much of an issue. That proves something to me. Forget racial differences and gender differences and religious differences, even political differences. When you come right down to it, there are really only two kinds of people in the world: smart and stupid. And in the immortal words of Ron White, you can't fix stupid. My fellow Americans, I am General Buck Peckinpah, Supreme Commander of the Sons of the Border Militia, otherwise known as the SOBs. I address you tonight on a matter of great urgency. We have identified a clear and present danger on our southern border with Mexico. Recently, our listening posts intercepted a coded message confirming the existence of a new and terrifying weapon of mass immigration. It is designed to defeat our great border wall, which will soon be erected, we think, on our southern frontier. On my orders, our crack SOB Commando Team 6 traveled to Tijuana in a 2014 black stealth Cadillac Escalade to capture one of these units and bring it back so we could have a look at it. We lost some of those boys down there, or they just got lacquered up and wandered off, which is the kind of thing that happens quite frequently in Tijuana. But the survivors returned several days later with what you see here. The Escalera para Refugiados. As you can see, it is sophisticated, lightweight, and therefore man-portable, and it has all-weather capability. That means it can be used whether it's raining or not. It is capable of transporting large numbers of MS-13 gang members, rapists, killers, drug dealers, coyotes, and a lot of virile young men who look a lot like that El Mariachi fella I saw in a movie once. Now, as the father of three excitable teenage girls, I can tell you the last thing we want or need is somebody who looks like Antonio Banderas hanging around street corners in small town America. So, as soon as the boys sobered up and came back with this thing, I contacted a U.S. defense contractor that deals with the Pentagon on a daily basis. I directed him to reverse engineer this unit so that we could construct a countermeasure that would intercept and defeat any clandestine incursion at the top of the wall so that no undocumented alien personnel will ever set foot on American soil. This is what he came up with. The Tango 9 Delta Bravo vertical ingress system. The defense contractor informs me that even at the Pentagon preferred xenophobic discount, each one of these units cannot be constructed for less than $9,995 US, not including cost overruns. Furthermore, the Mexicans can construct each one of theirs only 1 foot taller, which is all it needs to be, for only 300 pesos. That means they can deploy thousands of their units along the wall, while we can only afford this one, if we can figure out a way to pay for the damn thing. So, I made a command decision. I contacted noted defense and foreign relations expert Dennis Rodman, and he agrees that increasing the height of the wall is our only true defense. 50 feet would be good, 100 feet would be better, and 200 feet would be the cat's ass. My fellow patriots, we will get through this. Remain vigilant. Abandon all critical thinking. Try not to read any legitimate newspapers, those of you that can read, and preserve your bodily fluids. God bless America, and remember the Alamo. I have a conspiracy theory. Why not? Everybody else does. In any sane universe, Donald Trump would have been laughed out of the room as soon as he announced he was going to build a wall. Hell, in any sane universe, he would have been laughed out of the room as soon as he came down the escalator. Instead, the more stupid he acted, the more coverage he got. The more they put Donald Trump on the air during the primaries, the more people watched, either because they couldn't believe what they were seeing or because they were fucking morons and didn't do anything but watch television. I mean, if you have a dumbass candidate for president and you want to reach the right people, you do not take out ads in the Washington Post or the New York Times. You put them on the TV. And it also helped that Trump is a pathological liar. I just don't understand why we were so damn surprised. We've all been lying to each other for years. TV commercials and politicians and government apparatchiks and CEOs lie to us all the time. We're conditioned to lies. Lies are okay. They don't mean anything anymore. When you come right down to it, Donald Trump was a lousy president, but he doesn't care about that, and apparently a lot of other people don't care either. What he does care about is reality TV, as long as he's the star. And guess what? He got his wish. The Apprentice was just a warm-up. Since 2016, he's been the star of the longest-running and most successful reality TV show on Earth. It's been running non-stop on Fox and CNN for the last 5 years. If you think that the bullshit is over just because Trump is gone, you're like wrong. For one thing, he isn't gone, not even close. For the next few years, he's going to hover over American politics like a big, orange, stay-puffed marshmallow man. He could announce that he and Mitch McConnell have been having an illicit affair for years. I mean, man, that's an ugly image. And that he and Mitch are going to move into a tastefully decorated apartment just off Pennsylvania Avenue. and his supporters wouldn't bat an eyelash. And we all know that Trump's first love, not counting himself, is television. I mean, he's already talking about starting his own TV network, all Trump, all the time. He can do it too. I mean, more than 70 million people voted for him, and if you've got those kind of numbers, you can do anything you want to in the broadcast business. Think about it, he's already got a couple of new shows lined up. He's going to do a remake of All in the Family. He's going to play Archie Bunker. Melania's going to play Edith. Rudy Giuliani will be playing Meathead, and Stormy Daniels will play Meathead's wife. Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne are going to be the wacky next-door neighbors. Now, they're going to need a really strong show to lead into that time slot, so Donald Jr. and Eric are going to have their own series, Beavis and Butthead Save America. Don't laugh, it's going to work. Television is all about selling commercials. There are still a lot of hardcore Trump supporters out there, and they need stuff just like everybody else. Beer and aspirin and fertilizer and laxatives, guns, ammunition, weapons-grade plutonium. There used to be all kinds of taboos about what you could and could not advertise on television. Now nothing is too personal anymore, especially with drug commercials. I mean, you have to have a medical degree just to understand the disclaimers at the end. That all started years ago when Viagra first came out. If erection lasts longer than 4 hours, call a doctor. Listen, if I get an erection that looks like it's going to last longer than 4 hours, I have other people I'm going to call first. So, what happens now? Even though Trump lost the election, there are still millions of people out there who think he's the greatest thing since the invention of the flip-top beer can. They did not come to that conclusion entirely on their own. They had some help. I do not know if you remember me or not. In my business, it's not always good to be remembered. I am Sergei Adronovich Sokolnikov, but I used to be known as Crazy Bear. Now, I have been, how do you say, kicked upstairs to Moscow Center. The West is an interesting place. You are always having elections. It is like your national sport. Whenever a country in the West has an election, we try to fuck it up. That is our national sport. In Mother Russia, we do not have elections very often. We like to keep one person in power for a long time. Vladimir knows he is going to be there, so he has time to plan things, like fucking up your elections. The only thing your politicians plan for is getting elected again. So, we are going to do what we did last time. If it is not broken, why would we fix it? Your politicians always knew we were going to do this, but they have done nothing. I remember when I was a small boy in Chelyabinsk, I would lie there and I would hear a bump in the night, but I would be afraid to look under the bed because I might find something. That is what your politicians are like. They do not want to find something. But just because you do not want to find something does not mean it is not there. Tear yourselves away from watching spoiled rich boys playing children's games and look at what has happened. We have divided the people of the main adversary into two warring tribes, one left and one right. But we have done it to other people too. Do you think Brexit happened by itself? Brexit has separated the United Kingdom from the European Union, and someday, who knows, maybe even the member states of the United Kingdom from each other. It's like House of Cards. Time goes by, maybe main adversary in the United Kingdom and European Union, cannot agree on having NATO anymore, cannot agree on having strong military on eastern border. Cui bono? Who benefits? Mother Russia. His greatest maskirovka in history. I know, Tovarich, I know. You have much more important things to worry about, like who wins America's Got Talent or the World Series. These are the bread and circuses your own oligarchs feed you to keep you happy and themselves rich. We Russians, we are not like you. We are much more serious people. That is why we have aktivni meropryatya, active measures, to you. We have been doing these active measures for a very long time, since the days of the Tsars, and we are very good at them. To us, it is the great game all over again. Like I tell you last time, in the West, your politicians always worry about elections because they do not know if they will win. In Mother Russia, we never worry about elections because we never lose. No matter who wins your election, we will always get what we want. There is old drinking toast. Perhaps you have heard of it. Confusion to your enemies. That is what we have done to you. I have to go now. We have to clean up a mess and move it to another place where more people will see it. До свидания. Sergei isn't going to go away either, and what happens with the US and Russia has a big impact on the rest of us. We've got skin in the game, baby, whether we like it or not. Here in Canada, we can be pretty smug, but maybe we shouldn't be. We like to think we don't have the same issues as the US, not as much bigotry, at least so far. Christian Canadians, we're pretty reasonable people. We realize that we've actually got a lot in common with the Muslim community, for instance. Muslim Canadians believe in a single, all-powerful, omniscient, supreme being, Allah. Christian Canadians believe in a single, all-powerful, omniscient, supreme being, Sidney Crosby. The Roman Empire had bread and circuses, and we have sports and entertainment. They're the same thing. Keep everybody happy, roll something shiny down the hall once in a while to distract them from what's really going on. That's why we have 9 million so-called reality TV shows that have absolutely nothing to do with reality. Some of my favorites are these wildlife adventure shows. They're almost always hosted by these crazy Australians who've had way too much coffee. This is the dreaded African black mamba. It's the most dangerous snake in the world. It has huge razor-sharp fangs, and its venom will destroy your central nervous system in only moments. If you disturb it, or if it's startled or frightened, it will attack and kill you within a matter of seconds. I'm going to poke it with a stick. Another reality show I like is The Curse of Oak Island. These two brothers have been digging this place up for buried treasure for years. It's a miracle the whole damn island isn't 100 feet underwater by now. Every time I tune in, they've got Irving heavy equipment and big-time drill rigs and ground-penetrating radar. They spent millions of dollars on this stuff, and so far they haven't found fuck all. The only guy who's found anything is this guy Gary from the UK. He's got this Fisher-Price metal detector that he probably got at Walmart for $149.95, and he's found more stuff than the rest of them put together. The reality shows aren't about reality at all. They've tapped into something else entirely. There's something in all of us that craves mystery and paranoia and suspense and conspiracy. even if we have to invent it. Every night, all across North America, hundreds or maybe even thousands of people go to bed wondering if they're going to get abducted by aliens or carried off by a Sasquatch or have to defend their homes against a zombie invasion orchestrated by Adolf Hitler, who is now 132 years old and living in Argentina. And what happens if the aliens and the Sasquatches and the zombies all show up on the same night? Well, hell, then you've got the mother of all TV specials. Now, all these shows, all of them, are really all about entertainment. Everybody wants to be famous. That's why America's Got Talent has turned singing into some kind of a track meet. 30 years ago, there were maybe a dozen comedians in the entire world. Now the entire world is full of comedians. And when you come right down to it, the only useful thing about the entertainment industry is that it provides gainful employment for people who otherwise would have to be institutionalized. The trouble is that there isn't a lot of gainful employment to go around. Now that Trump has been kicked off the island and everybody's so terrified of being politically incorrect, every comedian in the world is going to be unemployed. The only people you're allowed to make fun of anymore are middle-aged straight white guys, and let's face it, we're boring as hell. I used to make movies, but it can be a very discouraging business. There's nothing quite like sitting in a story meeting with a bunch of highly paid network executives and somebody with the emotional depth of an anaconda tells you that your script needs more heart. Still, it could be worse. How would you like to be that guy in the laxative commercial auditioning for his next job? You know the one I mean? It's got the water slides, totally dry, twists and turns, folds in on itself. A big surprise. It's supposed to represent the gastrointestinal system. Anyway, so this guy is standing up at the top of the slide. He's just wearing swim trunks. Thankfully, they're not Speedos, and somebody gives him a signal. He jumps off the top of the slide. There's no water in the slide. It's totally dry. So when he jumps off, he lands in the chute, and he's stuck. He doesn't move in this gastrointestinal system. It's really subtle. Get it? Anyway, how would you like to be this guy auditioning for his next job? So, what have you done before? Well, I portrayed a piece of shit. I mean, you would not want to get typecast, would you? It's not like there's a bunch of casting directors sitting around somewhere going, I wonder where the next piece of shit is coming from. And it's gotta be hard on an actor's self-esteem. 10 years in the Royal Academy and it's come to this. Not just any fucking idiot can do this sort of thing, you know. One has to be a classically trained fucking idiot. It's like that with everything. Everybody's an actor or a comedian or a filmmaker or a writer or a dancer. Everybody in the world now wants to become part of an industry that produces stuff that absolutely nobody needs. There's a problem with that. Sooner or later, there won't be anybody left to watch or listen. I'm not the first person to realize this. I've shot a few movies myself. I mean, I know you're all going to rush right out and look those up. But not that long ago, we had a chance to meet up with a man who is the real thing, an absolute legend in the film business.
He is the most interesting film director in the world. He has won 4 Academy Awards. He sent them back. He has won 2 People's Choice Awards. He sent them back. He has won 3 BAFTA Awards. He sent them back too. He has won the Man of the Year Award 4 times from the Las Vegas Lap Dancers Association. Those he kept.
Buenos dias, mi amigos. I am Alejandro y Montoya de la Vega, and you, sad to say, are not. Everybody knows that the only way to make money in the film business is to not actually make a film. The way to make money in the film business is to become a lawyer, or an accountant, or an executive, something that will allow you to go to work for a distributor or a film studio or a broadcaster, so that someday, my friends, You too can sit behind a big desk and explain to filmmakers why they cannot possibly make a film. I know, my darlings, I know. You do not want to become a lawyer, an accountant, or an apparatchik. You want to make cinema. You poor deluded bastards. You want to be an auteur. But things, they have changed, my friends. There are now more movies out there than there are people to watch them. Unless you want to make movies where people fly around and wear spandex and blow things up, but then you would not be an auteur, would you? You would be rich, like me. There is a way, my friends, but you will have to adapt. What you should do is to take your expensive film school diploma and no, don't wipe your ass with it. Instead, you should use it to do something truly worthwhile, something worthy of your vision. You should use it to explore the most dynamic new art form of the 21st century, the one that more people watch on Facebook and Vimeo and YouTube than anything else. It is the next incarnation of true cinema. I am talking, of course, about cat videos. Think of it this way, my friends. Cats are cheap. You do not have to pay them union rates. You do not have to pay them at all. Just toss them a fish now and then, like you do with your PAs. Cats will allow you artistic freedom like you have never experienced before. Think of it, compadres. No pesky actors, no psychotic megalomaniac producers, no dope-smoking alcoholic screenwriters, no technicians that you have to treat like human beings. No bullshit. Just a cat and a camera. Cats are perfect. You do not even have to direct them. They will not listen to you anyway. In fact, if they are anything like the one I have at home, the cat will direct you. Remember, compadres, talent means nothing. Just get something on YouTube and hope it goes viral. And while you're at it, buy a lottery ticket. You will see which one pays off first. So, that is what you must do. Get the cat and get the camera. If you do these things, the world will finally recognize your true brilliance. Will finally see you as an emerging auteur. I must warn you, however, that you may have to emerge for a very long time. I don't often shoot videos, but when I do, I shoot cat videos. Keep shooting, my friends. Hate to say it, but Alejandro has a point. Not that long ago, only a few hundred movies would get produced in any given year. Now, there are thousands of them, and unless you're somebody like Alejandro, nobody's ever going to see them, much less pay money to see them. That's all down to the internet and social media. There's just way too much out there. Logic doesn't have much to do with the movie business, but there's just way too much supply and not nearly enough demand. As our friend Sergey pointed out, we have our oligarchs too. Is it just me, or does Mark Zuckerberg look like the guy who used to play Data on Star Trek? I mean, it's either that or he and Jared Kushner are brothers from another mother. Remember when Facebook first came out? When it first came out, people were a lot more trusting then. It was a much more innocent time, and there were still a disturbing number of young women who would post pictures of themselves on Facebook wearing next to nothing and posed in very provocative positions. I mean, what were they thinking? Did they have any idea what kind of pervert could be looking at this stuff? Did they have any concept of how dangerous it was? I could have had a heart attack. The oligarchs, they don't think they're doing anything wrong, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and these guys are just getting started. Think about it. We ended up with Trump partly because of a combination of television and the internet. In a few years, television and the internet are going to look as primitive as cave paintings. When the internet first started, there was all this naive kumbaya crap about how it was going to bring everybody together. Instead, it's been tearing us all apart. Every nut bar in the world now has his own personalized social media silo and echo chamber where he can believe anything he wants, say anything he wants, do anything he wants. To hell with reality and facts be damned. You can put anything you want to on the internet or on television, and somebody somewhere will find a way to believe it, and somebody somewhere else will find a way to make money from it. We're becoming completely polarized, in danger of being separated into extreme right-wing and extreme left-wing factions, because we never have to listen to anything we don't want to hear. There's no middle ground anymore. The weird thing is that people on the extreme right and people on the extreme left actually have a lot in common. People on the extreme right believe in rugged individualism, as long as everybody thinks exactly the same way they do, or else. Left-wingers believe in intellectual rights and freedoms, as long as everybody thinks exactly the same way they do, or else. The only real difference between extreme right-wingers and extreme left-wingers is that the ones on the left are usually unarmed. Everybody wants inside your head, and they're getting closer and closer to actually getting there. Someday soon, they'll be able to access information about us not only through our smartphones and our computers, but by implanting computer chips directly into our brains as well. They'll be able to do this because they'll tell us it will make our lives better, and we'll believe them. That's more bullshit. The only lives they want to make better are their own. They're working on this stuff right now. It's called neural interface tech, and nobody seems to be worried about the consequences. What happens if they shut you down for updates? That's the thing about technology. Just because you can do something does not mean that you should. A guy just built a female robot. She looks absolutely gorgeous, lifelike. She responds to touch. They were interviewing him the other night, and they asked the inevitable question, will she be used for sex? He says, no, she won't be used for sex. If you believe that, you believe that politicians don't lie, that Monsanto actually has your best interests at heart, and that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup. Sure, she'll be used for sex. In another 10 years or so, you'll be able to walk into robot dealerships and order a 1995 Kim Basinger replica. Technology has gotten smarter, and the human species just keeps plunging toward the lowest common denominator. I've got a news flash for you. Orwell was right. Up is down, down is up, day is night, night is day, and truth is a lie. Think of tonight as a time capsule before we all run out of time. And by the way, darlings, Alejandro, he is right too. At the end of the day, it is all about cat videos.